Mm-hmm. We kind of got our signals crossed, so maybe this will work. Mm-hmm. And we had a little technical difficulty a couple of minutes ago. I apologize. But we good now. Mm-hmm. What up? What up? Yeah, we good now. We had a bit of a technical difficulty a second ago, but we hot. This is this cran apple today. I usually have cranberry, but this cran apple today. Ian, what's up, brother? That's what I'm drinking today. Eric Gordon with the Lakers. They already got shooters. Ellington, Monk, and Nunn. They don't need Eric Gordon. They straight with the guys shooting the long ball. Yes, I do think Scotty Barnes could be an all-star in the next 5 years. I'll take it even a step further than that. I think he's got the potential to be an all-star in the next 3 years. Mm-hmm. What's up, Huss? How you doing, brother? Nice to meet you. And you basing this on, and the thing that you basing this on, Mark, is Chris Paul, what he's not just what he looks like, is what his numbers say. That's what you're basing this on. But whenever I come with that argument, I get roasted. I get absolutely roasted when I come with that argument. Because again, I care about production. A lot of people don't. I do. And to see Chris Paul, the only player in NBA history to have 20,000 points and 10,000 assists. And now we have to start considering him as a top 3 point guard of all time. Meanwhile, this is the same dude who hasn't had any postseason success. I'm not even talking about what he's done with his team. This is the same dude who there are plenty of people who have him in the top 10, but because he's done that, because of the numbers, now we got to start considering him. So I need you to keep that same energy when James passes Jabbar to be the all-time scoring leader in NBA history. As a scorer, I need you to keep that same energy that you're talking about with. I need you to keep that same energy with James. I need you to keep that same energy with him. Absolutely, my man. I do listen to Jadakiss. Jadakiss is super dope. But they don't. Here's the thing, Mark. When I talk about numbers, I get stuff like I'm an egghead, I'm a nerd. I hate people hate analytics. When your numbers are a result of what you've produced. Numbers don't tell the whole story. I will not sit here and say that numbers tell the whole story, because no, they do not. No, numbers don't tell the whole story. There's other variables about the kind of athlete you are. The eye test, those things matter, right? How hard you played and what you look like. Those things matter. However, when we talk how smart you are, that's important too. But with all of that being said, at the end of the day, this is what you produced. And to me, that matters more than any of those other things. King, why are you saying top 5 in assists? James is 526 assists behind Steve Nash for number 4 all time. So top 5, we're talking about top 4. He's 526 assists behind Steve Nash for number 4 all time. So with that being said, we're talking about a guy who, by the end of his career, we looking at a 30,000 point, 10,000, because I think he's a little over 150 rebounds from 10,000. So we looking at a guy before the end of next season. He's gonna be a part of an exclusive club that nobody else is in. He'll be a part of the 30,000 point, 10,000 rebound, 10,000 assist club. Nobody in NBA history can say that they've done that. Nobody. Travis, that is absolutely right. They aren't as subjective as the eye test. Right. Because with the eye test, you see somebody different than I see them. I see somebody different than you see them. What's not subjective? These numbers aren't subjective. This is what they are. You see something different when you're looking at a player as opposed to what I see. So that absolutely makes sense. I could get with that logic. Yes, I can. No, I have not been a Cavs fan for life. Steady as of right now. Kevin Durant is in the lead because he leads the league in scoring, and Brooklyn is at the top of the Eastern Conference. But I think that if Denver was better, if Denver was a little better, this wouldn't be a conversation. Kevin Durant wouldn't be in this conversation. Steph Curry would not be in this conversation. No way. This wouldn't even be a question. Nope. Jokic would be, if they were better, if they weren't decimated by injury, and they were a top 5, if they were a top, they don't even need to be a top 3 team. If they were a top 5 team, we wouldn't be having this conversation. No question about it. Jack, you want to talk about the draft class? Man. Who's coming out? Tell me who's coming out, Jack, so I'm clear. It was actually nice. Hey, Jillian, how are you, dear? Beach was really nice. I just got finished exercising, and I thought it'd be something cool to do. Mm-hmm. I tell you what, he'd have more than. I will tell you this, Mark. He'd have more than 2 with Dwayne Wade if he got Wade on the other side of his prime. Right? He got Wade in what, year 7? Yeah, he got Wade in year 7. So Wade's prime only lasted 4 or 5 more seasons. Like he didn't get Wade when Shaq got him. No, we didn't get that. He didn't get that Wade. So he got him on the other side of his prime. No doubt about that. I saw a post. It's interesting you mentioned that. It's interesting you mentioned that, John, because I saw a post about Draymond Green, and he mentioned how, he's been mentioned as the best. He thinks he's the best defensive player of all time, and he explained how. And it does make a lot of sense because he explained how if you just, defense isn't just you against me, one-on-one. Defense is a number of different things. And the example that he used, I couldn't say it better. It's about a scorer. If you got a guy who all he does is shoot the basketball, he doesn't do anything else except shoot the basketball. How complete of a player is he? Well, he's not that complete because all he does is shoot the basketball. Now, if you got a guy who's defending and all he is a great one-on-one defender, how complete of a defender is he? Well, he's not that great of a complete one-on-one defender. I mean, he's not that great of a defender. But if you got a complete defender, and the guys that I had mentioned, I think that all of those guys are complete defenders. They're not just rim protectors. They're not just perimeter defenders. They're not just rebounders. They do a multitude of things. And I think that they do those things better than him. Now, when I think about Draymond as an overall defender, the question that needs to be answered is, because when I think about Draymond, how he impacts his unit, we talk about a guy who, when he's defending, he's not just defending his guy. He's studied tape. So he knows how these guys move. He knows where these guys like to rebound. He knows that this team, he knows that, because this is what I'm insinuating. He knows that this team, the way that they pull away from other teams is they have the best defensive rebounding team in the third quarter. So they have the best offensive rebounding team in the third quarter. And they have the best offensive rebounding team in the last 5 minutes of the game. I know that. That means that I get my group together and we got a gang rebound. And I know that this guy that I'm dealing with, that I'm covering, he scores the majority of his 24 points a game. He scores the majority of that between the last 6 minutes, the last 8 minutes of the third quarter, and the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. So he knows that. So the question that needs to be asked with Draymond is, are you really that smart? Because I'm thinking to myself, if you're that smart, then there's no question that, because are you taking all of those things into account? Because that's what it's going to take. It's not just going to be you talking to this guy, he got to get on this side, you helping these guys rebound, you coaching this guy to slide down, you talking on defense. It's got to be more than just that. So, do we have another Russ situation where he finishes sixth? Excuse me. If Joker is 30, 14, and 9. Man. You have to consider that, Steady. You have to consider that, Steady. And the reason why you have to consider that is strictly because you set the precedent by giving it to Russ. So it's not like a situation where, no, we're not going to do that. Well, wait a minute. You already did it. So you set the precedent for it. So if you got a guy going 30, 14, and 9, and you're not even talking about him with the league MVP, then that means that the guy that you gave the league MVP to, who did average a triple-double, when the guy who averaged a triple-double before him didn't win it, that invalidates it. That completely shuts it down. So if Joker is doing that, then we have to at least consider it specifically because of the precedent that the NBA has already set. No doubt. In San Antonio, still anchor. Hang on for a second. No, I didn't see what Skip Bayless said about what KD said to Skip Bayless. I missed that, Jillian. What did he say? LEX, what's going on, brother? Good to see you tonight. I have Hakeem ranked 9th on my all-time NBA list. I got him ranked 9th all time. OG, predict what players in the NBA right now has the most followers on IG. I'm not on Instagram, so I'm not familiar. But if I had to guess off the top of my head, I think James, because I think he's got more people who want to see. I think as many people. If I had to guess, James probably has. If he doesn't have 100 million followers on Instagram, I'd be surprised. But I think he's probably got a upwards of 80 to 100 million followers on Instagram. And him, the most popular players, Trae Young, maybe LaMelo Ball, guys like that. Star Wars, what's up, brother? Good to see you again, my man. No doubt. Boise, good, man. How you doing? Running good tonight. So James has got 104 million subscribers. Right. I think LeBron is better than Kobe Bryant because I don't think Kobe did everything as good as James. He might have done I personally don't think he did anything better than James, but you can make the argument that he did do some things, but I don't think he did everything that James did as good as James. I don't think so. So it's James, Curry, LaMelo Ball, maybe? Skip tweeted a compliment about KD, but it also insulted LeBron. And KD tweeted, Skip and said, I really don't like you. Like, stop talking to me, my man. I really do not like you. I just don't. I can get with that logic. I dig that. I really don't like you, B. I just don't. And Skip is the same dude who said he thinks KD is the best player on the planet. That doesn't surprise me that Russ is the third most popular IG guy. That doesn't surprise me at all because Russ is box office. There's not many guys in the NBA that are box office. It's not. Not many. Nah, you can't trade Russ because we got to still see, and we barely 2 months into the season, and we're gonna dump him. We don't even know what we got here. We can't do that yet, man. Well, I'll tell you what, Mark. I'm glad you mentioned that about James. In 20 years, will there still be debating whether or not he's the GOAT? All right. So let me talk to my man Mark real quick. So the way at the pace James is going, by next year he's going to break Jabbar's all-time scoring record, and I think he's going to get to 40,000 in the next 2 years. That's number one. He's by the beginning of next season, he's going to be at the 10,000 rebound mark, right? Let's see. At the beginning of next season, he's going to be well over the 10,000 assist mark, right? So he's going to still be number one in the playoffs in points. Before this season ends, or by next season, he'll be in the top 5 in playoff history in points, rebounds, I believe steals, field goals, and field goal percentage in the playoffs. So we're talking about a guy who the stuff that he has, it's going to be in the numbers that he'll have accumulated at that point are going to be insurmountable. Where I don't personally think that anybody is going to be able to touch him. I don't think so. I think that James is going to sit on top of that mountain for a long time. Boise, I think James was better than Bryant. I don't think Bryant did anything better than James. Nothing. I did hear about that. I don't know how true that is, but I don't know with Steph what he's talking about, but what are you basing Kobe Bryant being better than James at? Did he shoot better than James? He shot the mid-range better than James, and James did improve his shot. James shot the 3-ball better than him, and James finished around the basket better than him. So Kobe is better than you. Haven't given me any, Diaby. You haven't given me any. So you're basically going off your eye test that Kobe is better than LeBron James. Is that fair? That's what you're going off of? Oh, so we're dealing with a troll now. Okay, I'm sorry. So let me get back to who I was actually talking to. No problem. Yeah, I'm dealing with a troll. My fault. I apologize. I apologize. I want to talk to Boise because Boise and I were actually having a. I'm gonna get to you guys in a second. Boise and I were actually having a good conversation. Bryant James shot the three ball better than Bryant. James finished around the basket better than Bryant. Bryant shot the mid range better than James. He absolutely did that, no doubt. I can't deny that. The numbers speak for themselves. So I can't deny that. No. Mm-hmm. Sean, what's up, brother? Bryant was not a better all-around scorer than if that's true, Diaby, and I'm talking, I hope I'm not talking to a troll. I hope I'm actually talking to somebody that knows basketball. If that's true, then explain why James averaged more points than him for his career. That's number one. Explain why James averages more points than him in the playoffs for his career. That's number two. Explain why James averages more points in the finals than him for his career. Explain why James, for 19 straight seasons, including this season, has averaged 25 a game or more for his career. Bryant can't say that. So when you talk about an all-around scorer, what do you mean? Because when I think about James and when I think about Bryant, James, the fastest player in the NBA history to 10,000 points, the fastest player in the NBA history to 25,000 points, the fastest player in NBA history to 30,000 points. Nobody has done that like him. So is it just an eye test? James takes more efficient shots in the paint. So we've already established that Bryant is a better mid-range shooter than James. Bryant is not a better long ball shooter than James. The numbers prove it. James for his career, he shoots a higher percentage, but even with him shooting a higher percentage, James has 8, count them, 8 seasons where he shot 35% or more on the long ball. 8 of them. I think Bryant has 3. I don't think he has more than 5. I'm 100% certain to that. I think Bryant has 3 that he shot 35% or higher. So Kobe took a lot of difficult shots, and he missed a lot of difficult shots. So in fact, I think he's got the most misses in NBA history. So that's a terrible case right there that you're making. That's a terrible case. Go look it up. Go do your homework, Diaby. I am 100% certain that Bryant has, I don't think he has more than 5 seasons where he shot over 35% from the 3. I think it's I'm willing to bet the house that it's 3. I don't think it's more than I'm willing to bet that it's not more than 5. James has 8 seasons where he's done that. 8 of them. All right. Absolutely. Alrighty, then I already have John Stockton. I have John Stockton over Nash. I actually had the Celtics at I had them at 5 in the East before the season started. What was your expectations of the 2019 Celtics? The one that had Irv? Is that the one you're talking about, Spo? So the year that the Raptors won the NBA championship, when they lost was it the first or the second round when they lost to Milwaukee? Is that the team you're talking about? Or no? Do I have a top 3 most improved candidate right now so far? Well, Ja's gone. MPJ is gone. So most improved. I think Jaren Jackson is in that conversation. Let's see here. That's a good question. I think Jaren Jackson is in that conversation. I think Miles Bridges is in that conversation. Definitely Miles Bridges, absolutely. I think Deontay Murray is in that conversation. he might actually be at the top of the list, to be quite honest with you. I love what he's doing. He might be a guy that they can build it around, to be honest with you. I think Tyler Hero's at the top of the 6-man list. Jordan Poole, he's absolutely in that conversation. But the two guys that I can think of off the top of my head are Miles Bridges and Deontay Murray. Those are the two guys that I'm thinking about right now. So, do I think Joker's a top 5 player right now? Absolutely. No question, Beyond. No question, blame it on Burks. No doubt. Absolutely, I do. Tier D, what's up, brother? Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, Sean, because I get a lot of people who talk about James playing with Shaq, who Shaq was washed by the time James got him. And, you talk about great players playing with each other. And one of the examples that I made was, can you imagine James? Because the conversation started with Magic having Jabbar and how good he was with having Jabbar. And my rebut to that was, can you imagine James running around with Dwight Howard for 10 years? Like how much better he would have been and how much better Howard would have been. I'm not even going to say Shaq. Can you imagine if James ran around with Howard for 10 years? Like how much better would he be? So, now I'll tell you what, Steady, I initially thought that when I think about guys like Cole Anthony, because Orlando's at the bottom of the league, but then I went back 20 years, right? I went back 20 years, and it turns out in those 20 years, I think 7 or 8 guys were on teams that weren't playoff teams. So it doesn't matter if you're winning or not. This is an individual award. So Cole Anthony, from what I understand, and I haven't been watching Orlando as much as I should because they kind of whack, yo. I mean, let's call it what it is. They're kind of whack. I don't like what Mo Bamba. I know that there's some people who like Mo Bamba. I don't like what Mo Bamba has turned into. I don't like this perimeter thing. I would love to see him play closer to the basket because I think that he would be so much better doing that. But from what I understand, Cole Anthony looks like he may be somebody that they can build around for their future. I've seen a couple of games. Like I said, I haven't watched them nearly as much, but he looks like somebody that they could build around. Absolutely. I think that's exactly why, Tier D. That's exactly why they get slandered, because they're on bad teams. And somebody got to lead a bad team in scoring. Somebody got to lead a bad team in rebounding. Somebody got to lead a bad team in assists. So, Prime Howard and James, my mind is blown. I'm just saying, Jillian, I'm thinking about, can you imagine James having Dwight Howard for 10 years? Like, what the hell? Darrell, what's up, brother? Good to see you. I am going to watch the Laker game. Yes, I am. I am going to watch the Laker game. Let's see here. Top 5 MVP candidates this season. Let's see. KD is at the top of that list. Curry is at the top of that list. Let's see. I had Giannis in that list. We have to actually consider James because the last 10 games he's been back. They've been, and I had DeMar DeRozan on that list. The reason why I didn't have Joker, and the reason why I didn't have Joker is because they aren't very good, and that's what the MVP is about. And we've had, and that's not to say the Joker isn't playing at the MVP level. We talking about a dude. I think if he don't lead the league in rebound, I think he's second in the league in rebound, and he's averaging close to 30. I think he's averaging 26, 27 a game and 14 boards. So that's something that goes without saying. But the problem with Denver is that they're not winning. That's the downside. So, and when I look at James, the last 10 games he's been in the lineup, James is averaging 27, 7, and 7. which is the same average that he was averaging, which is the same thing he was averaging, I think, in year 4. I'm sorry, he's never averaged 27 and 7. That's his career average. So he's averaging right around his career average in year 19. That's what this guy is doing. And the Lakers have a winning record when he's in the lineup. So no, I don't think Steph could get to 5,000 threes. But with that also being said, and I'm going to get to the rest of you guys. I don't think Steph could get to 5,000 threes, but I don't know if I made a video on TikTok about this, and I broke down the numbers. But I think that he could get very close, if not surpass 4,500. And as you guys know, I take pretty good care of myself. I don't think that I'm going to be around to see a guy crack 4,500 to 5,000 threes. I just don't think that I'm going to be allowed to see it, man. We're talking about a guy in, like, when I think about alt, I understand that, records are made to be broken. I do. I understand that. But then there are those records that this is insurmountable, and I don't think that I can't speak for everybody, but I don't think that I'm going to see this again in my lifetime, right? So Jerry Rice, 22,000 yards. The next active guy on that list is Julio Jones at 13,000 yards. In order to pass Jerry Rice, Julio's got to play another 10 years. Another 10 years and have 1,000-yard seasons over the next 10 years. I don't think that's going to happen. The all-time assist record at 15,000. The next active guy is Chris Paul. Chris Paul, over the next 5 years, he's got to have Rondo's career. He's got to have Rondo's career in assists in order to pass Stockton. He's got to do that for the next 5 years. Do you think that's realistic? Or am I on some nonsense to say that? Right? When I think about the all-time strikeouts leader, Nolan Ryan got over 5,000 strikeouts. And when I think about Curry, when I think about Jabbar's record of 38,000 points, I hear people talking to me all the time saying, well, James is going to break Jabbar's record very soon. Let's say that James breaks Jabbar's record next year, right? Let's say that he breaks Jabbar's record next year. And I'm going to get to you guys. I promise. Let's say that James breaks Jabbar's record next year. That would mean that Jabbar's record stood for 38 years. That's almost 4 decades. Almost 40 years we talking about. That's incredible. John Stockton broke the assist record. Over 25 years ago, and nobody's close to breaking it. So I think that it's going to stand for another 20 years. I don't think I'm going to be around to see somebody break that. I doubt it. So Kevin Willis was a solid role player. When I think about role players, let's see. I'm thinking about a 4-man in the game who is solid, who is a solid 4-man. Maybe Al Horford. And I don't mean today. I mean, even Al Horford was an all-star. He wasn't the athlete that Kevin Willis was. I think Al Horford was a better offensive player than Kevin Willis, so that's not true. Let me think about that for a minute. Kevin Willis was a solid role player. He was almost a double-double guy. In fact, I think he averaged a double-double a couple of times. The problem with him was he couldn't score it as much as they needed him to. Like, he wasn't Horace Grant good. I can tell you that. He wasn't better than Horace Grant. Like, if you took Horace Grant off the Bulls and put Kevin Willis on, they would be missing a lot. He wasn't as good as Horace Grant. I can tell you that. No doubt. Diaby, I'm starting to think that you're a troll, man. I really am. I need you to straighten me out, brother. I really do. I really need you to straighten me out, my man. Yeah, I do think it's concerning, Guts, Bubba Guts. I really think it's concerning. I've said this to you before, and I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face. I think that the Nets are fool's gold. I do. I'm not. I'm not sold on them dudes, and they got Kevin Durant, just like LeBron James did in Cleveland. Kevin Durant is masking a lot of problems that they have, a lot, and it looks good on paper that they're at the top of the Eastern Conference. Man, he's masking a lot of issues that they have, a lot. Mm-hmm. Diaby, explain how Steph Curry is better than Wilt Chamberlain. Can you explain that? I'm being biased toward who, boys? Who am I being biased toward? So I'm clear. Hmm. No, I don't think it's going to be like that, my man. You asking for a lot with that 17-18 season. You asking for a lot to ask Kevin Durant to do that, and I don't think he can do that. Saying Wilt is a top 10 player is being biased. How am I being biased? We're talking about a guy who's the all-time leading rebounder in NBA history. All the records that are major records in the NBA. Well, let's talk about it, Boise. All the records that are major records in the NBA are held by Wilt. You know, who's the all-time leading rebounder in NBA history? That's Wilt. Who at when who averaged the most points all time in NBA history? Jordan. He broke Wilt's record, averaging 30 a game, right? Who had the most rebounds in a game? Who had the most points in a game, right? Who was on a team that won the most games in the regular season? Wilt. So when I talk about Wilt, I mean they changed the rules. They changed the rules to hamper him, and they didn't. In fact, not only did they not hamper him, he thrived. Still, I am still concerned about Zion. I am. There was only 10 teams when Wilt played, which means that the competition, the better competition, you saw them more. So Steph Curry, instead of having to see Orlando, Oklahoma City, um, San Antonio, uh, New Orleans, instead of Steph Curry having to see them, imagine Steph Curry having to see Devin Booker. Imagine Steph Curry having to see Damian Lillard 10 times before Christmas. Imagine Steph Curry having to see the Lakers 15 times before Christmas. You got to see the better competition. You have to see the better competition more when there's less teams. So, I think the Warriors, I think the Suns are better, man. I do. Well, here's the thing, Boise. That logic that Wilt was a foot taller, that doesn't work because there are a lot of big guys in the NBA. I mean, when Wilt played, you know, Jabal was in the NBA. Bill Russell was in the NBA. Nate Thurman was in the NBA. Willis Reed was in the NBA. There were Elvin Hayes was in the NBA. So these are big guys that are in the NBA when Wilt played. And these are the better big men, right? These are the better big men when he played. So with that being said, Wilt still dominated. He still dominated. Not to mention, you know, Shaq being Shaq, you know, he out. So are we keeping that same energy for Shaq? You know, Shaq was heavier and stronger than all the other guys. So are we keeping that same energy for Shaq? And it was a lot worse teams when Shaq played. So is that fair or is that unfair? So that's my question to you. Yes, sir. Hmm. Herb Jones was a role player, man. He was. He was a solid role player on a real good Knicks team. He played a lot of years, and he was a solid big man. He wasn't great, but let's see. Mo Cheeks was a ball hawk. Mo Cheeks had a really good mid-range game. He couldn't really score it that well. That was that, and again, that was a game that was, dumping into the big man, and Doc was doing all the Doc and Andrew Toney were doing most of the scoring. Mo Cheeks, he was the facilitator. So I'm thinking about a better version. Think Rondo, think Kyle Lowry when you think about Mo Cheeks. That's the that's the street that we living on when we talk about Mo Cheeks. So I love Valanciunas, man. Okie dokies. I don't like Valanciunas. I love Valanciunas, and I hate the fact that he down there in New Orleans because I think he's wasting away down there, man. I do. I think they wasting him down there because he could be on Brooklyn. He could be in Washington. He could be on one of those crews and really help a potential playoff team. I hate him in New Orleans. I don't dislike him in New Orleans. I hate him down there because I think they're wasting him down there in terms of a talent standpoint. The NBA is better than it ever was in terms of talent across the board. I will say that educational facts across the board. Absolutely, I will agree with that. Throughout the whole league, I will say that. Yes. Oh, gee, I'm in season 2, The Wire. It's pretty good. Okay. So you've met Barksdale, you've met Stringer, you met Brody. Okay. Um, so we're dealing with the Union guys in season 2. All right. You met his sister, you met Barksdale's sister Brianna, right? You met his cousin, you met his nephew D. All right. That's what's up. You met Omar. All right. To be honest with you, when I think about The Wire, because I was asked not too long ago, I was asked between The Wire and Breaking Bad. I have never seen Breaking Bad. The Wire is, in my opinion, the best show in the history of television. I've never seen anything like that. I thought that it was incredible. There was when I first got introduced to it, and this was like it had already stopped, and a buddy of mine that I worked with had me binge watching it, and I was on the hook. I'm the whole time. I was sucked in. I couldn't get off. I was sucked in. So absolutely. Uh, oh, Bill Embiid was the epitome of a flopper. Yeah, he was, man. But not only was he a flopper, he was dirty too. Absolutely, he was. He flopped. He did all the things that frustrated guys. And it took away from him actually being a really good defensive player, but he did all the things to frustrate you. All of those things. Valanciunas in Charlotte would be awesome. He would be great in Charlotte with LaMelo Ball and Rozier and Gordon. Oh, absolutely. He would absolutely be that. Mm-hmm. No, I don't. If Chris Paul was a dirty player, then that means Stockton was a dirty player, Jillian, because there's tricks to this. Now, if you getting guys hurt, that's something different. But if there are tricks to this, that's something completely different. And if Chris Paul is a dirty guy, then John Stockton's a dirty guy too, because they all use tricks to get by. If ain't nobody getting hurt, then I'm good. I can get with that, Daniel Sloan. But let me ask you this question. Is he the best defensive player on his team? Is Lonzo a better defender than Caruso? Does he wreak the havoc that Caruso brings? And I don't mean just from an on-ball standpoint. I want to make sure that we 100% clear on that, because as the head of my attack, right, as my lead guard, you are responsible for getting guys in position. Yo, 24, yo, 11. Watch the screen. You're the communicator. You're the head of the attack on defense. So is he a better defender, in your opinion, than Alex Caruso on his unit? I see what his numbers are. Absolutely. Because I'm a numbers guy. So on the surface, if those are the numbers, we have to consider that. And we have to consider that largely. But is he a better defender than Alex Caruso? So, because blame it on Burks, because Denver's not that good. That's the only reason why. If Denver was better, we would absolutely be talking about Joker way more than we, in terms of an MVP candidate, we'd be talking about Joker way more than we are. Way more than we are. No question about it. A team that could have won if they had Joel Embiid in the middle. Dallas. They had made it to the Western Conference Finals They had made it to the Western Conference Finals and they lost to the Lakers. Seattle, had they had Embiid in the middle with Tom Chambers and X-Men, yeah, I think they had a really good shot. No doubt. No doubt. No doubt. Where would I put Adrian Dantley on the all-time scoring list? I think Adrian Dantley a top 10 scorer all time to me. A dude to average 30 a game for 6 straight years. Come on, man. For almost 7 straight years, he averaged 30 a game. So no, I didn't, to be honest with you, because I thought that Toronto team, I thought that they were right there on the doorstep, and with getting Leonard, I think that he pushed them over the top. I don't think that he was. I don't think Irv would have been the difference, and I thought Irv was really good for that team. He was just so problematic, yo. He just was. Are you sure, blaming on Birch, that we ready to put Joker as a top 10 passer or the best passes all time? I mean, Joker, how long has Joker been that dude? So if you had to guess, if you had to tell me right now, how many years, we in 2021, how many years has Joker been that dude? If you had to give me a number, how many years has Joker been that dude? Emotional Justin, 3, 4. Is that enough? Is that enough time to say, yo, this dude is one of the best passers of all time? Is that enough time? 4 years? Is that enough? Or am I on some nonsense? Nah. So Bubba Guts, you got him since 19. So that's 3 years. So maybe we can so maybe we can switch that. So maybe we can switch that logic to he's on his way to being that dude. And maybe we should have that conversation in another year or two, as opposed to we already putting him in that category. He hasn't done it long enough. No doubt. In fact, let's get to that. Lakers. Hey, Nigel, go get to that, man. Absolutely. Studying is the most important thing. Don't worry about me, yo. I'll be here. Yeah, I'll be here. No doubt. Go handle that. Good luck on your test, too, yo. Good luck on your test. Go get him, man. Absolutely. I think the Bulls beat them. I do. But we have to ask the question, Michael, which era are we playing in? Are we playing in the 17 era or are we playing in the 96 era? Now, I hear a lot of people saying to me about, well, it doesn't matter what era we're playing in. Well, actually, it does. Because, to not be able to put hands on Michael Jordan, that's going to be very difficult, right? To not be able to put hands on Scottie Pippen, that's going to be very difficult. Very difficult. To have for those guys, Ron Harper, all of these guys to have the freedom of movement. So that's going to be very difficult. Very difficult. Does Denver have a better record than the Lakers? Because I think the Lakers, they over 500, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I said that James is moving into that. I said James is moving into that top 5. I can't put him in there yet because the Lakers aren't very good neither. No. Cab, what's up, brother? What's up with you? No, I don't think he slowed the league. I think that he benefited from that. And the fact that the game is changing, that the whistle isn't going in his favor, I think it's affected his game tremendously. Couple that with the fact that he's not in the best shape. And that's who James is. James is that guy who's always played himself into shape. So because he's played himself into shape, he's getting older now, and I think it's catching up to him. And I think that's why you've seen what you're seeing. That's good, no doubt. Not yet. Not yet, TRD. Not yet. Yeah, Ian. Absolutely. Yeah. Tonight I will. But everybody benefited from that, though, James. It wasn't just James Harden. I mean, Curry benefited from it. Trey benefited from it. Luca benefited from it. James benefited from it. KD. They all benefited from it. If you notice, all of those guys, their free throw average went through the roof, and it stayed there. That was an integral part of a lot of these guys' games. So it wasn't. It's unfortunate that James Harden is getting the blame for it because he seemed to be the one at the stripe the most, but all of those guys benefited from it, not just James. Absolutely. Not just James Harden. Benjamin, I think this is a problem. I think this is a huge problem. And it's something that is going to have to be dealt with, right? So I think that the Bulls had 10 guys in protocol. Brooklyn has 7. With the NFL, this is something that's constantly becoming more and more issue. I think Baker has it. I think Stefanski has it. This is something that's becoming more and more of an issue. What needs to be understood is that COVID isn't going away. So what I'd like to make sure that we 100% clear on, COVID is now what the flu was in the 20s, where people got vaccinated for the flu, and then the flu just stayed around. And every year there was just stronger cases of it, but it never went anywhere. So that's the same thing with COVID. COVID is now the modern day flu, where it's not going anywhere. So let's dead the notion that we're going to cure this thing and it's going to go away. No, it's not. It's now the flu. So you get a shot, and there are going to be some years where, just like the flu, there are going to be higher cases of people having it and people dying from the flu, right? And then there's going to be some cases where it's almost you haven't even heard about it. So I think it's the same thing with COVID. There's going to be some years where you hear that X amount of people have died of COVID, and then in 5 years you're going to hear that these many people died of COVID. So it's not something but it's not going anywhere. Let's make sure that we 100% clear about that. So it's something that has to be managed more than anything. I just took my cooties test not too long. What's today? Today is Wednesday. I just had a cooties test last Sunday. They call it COVID. I call it cooties. So I just took my cooties test 2 weeks ago, and I don't have a cooties, so that's good. That is good. The thing I dig about Deontay Murray, man, is I dig his all-around game. I don't think that those stats that he accumulates are empty stats. I think this is a guy who's trying to improve his game and show that you could build around me, right? I'm not just out here just getting rebounds, right? I'm not just out here just getting rebounds. I'm not out here scoring empty stats. I'm out here scoring to show you that, yo, if you get another guard next to me, this is what we can do. I'm not just out here distributing just empty stats. I'm telling you that, yo, if you get another big man around here, then we could do even more. You can possibly build this thing around here. You can possibly build this thing around me. If you see him rebounding as a guard, he's showing you that, yo, if we get another rebounder in here, we get another big man in here, how much better we would be as a rebounding team. So when I look at Deontay Murray, he looks to me like a guy that, if he can hold up physically, because he did tear his knee up, but if he can hold up physically, maybe we got somebody to build around, and if it's possible. So it was nice today at the beach. Really nice. I did hear about Kyrie possibly making a comeback. We'll see. We'll see about that. Joker and Giannis are in the same boat where people talk about them as all-time greats, even though, right, Michael? Right, Cyborg. Absolutely. That's exactly what, and the reason why people are like that, Agent Cyborg, the reason why they like that is because they're in the moment, right? They're in the moment right now. This is what it looks like. So last year, Giannis wins, his team wins the NBA championship. He wins finals MVP in 2 years, in the year before, 2 years before that, he was the league MVP in back-to-back seasons. So now all of a sudden, he's got a 3-year stretch where he won the league MVP twice, won the defensive player of the year, won the NBA championship, and the finals MVP. Now, Giannis is a top 5 power forward all time. Whoa, wait a minute. Oh, wait a second. What are we basing this off of? 3 years? Man. Good to see you, Boise. Absolutely, brother. Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. I couldn't answer that question, my man. And maybe next time, if you come into if you get on with us on Friday night, why don't you ask him? I think you can make the case that Amari Stoudemire may be a top 20 power forward all time. I think you can make that case. Best 1-year improvement that I've seen by a player, Tracy McGrady. He went from averaging 16 a game in Toronto in 2000 to 2001. I think he averaged almost 30 a game in Orlando. I was like, what the hell? There were actually speculation. There was actually speculation that he was on steroids, which I thought was absolutely nuts because his body didn't change. But that was the question. Like, yo, is this dude on steroids? For him to do that, it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. Oh, I think that you can make the argument that Chris Bosh is a top 10 power forward. I do think that you can make that argument. Sure. And he did that all in the span of 3 years. So he's going into year 9, right? He's going into year 9. He's in year 9. I'm sorry, blaming on Burt's. He's in year 9. And that's what we basing this on, what he did over the last 3 years. No sustained greatness. Okay. Is Lonzo Ball one of the best outlet passes, transition starters you've ever seen? And what are your thoughts on how he's improved his shooting? Lonzo Ball has gotten better in every aspect of his game. Absolutely, he has. I didn't like him in Los Angeles with LeBron. I didn't like that one bit. And the reason why I didn't like that was because James is ball dominant. Not only was James ball dominant, the development of Lonzo was going to get hampered because now that James is here, we got to do it. We got to go. We got to go. And the reason why we got to go is because the timeline is short with James. James is 34, so we don't have a huge window to build a championship team around him. So we can't worry about Lonzo developing. We can't do that, which would explain why they traded him. Now, he hasn't gotten much better. He hasn't gotten extremely better as a scorer, but he has gotten better. His long ball has gotten better. His scoring has gotten better. He's shot better at the free throw line. He's become better as a defender. So I think he has improved, and I like what I'm seeing from him. Absolutely, I do. Mm-hmm. Anthony Edwards in the future of the Timberwolves. Well, they got a decision to make. I think that they're right outside the top 8 seeds. I think they're in the play-in tournament, and they're going to have to make a decision depending on what happens this season. Are they going to continue to go the way that they're going, or are they going to build it? Are they going to continue to build around these 3 guys that they got in Edwards, Cat, and D'Angelo Russell? Are they going to continue to build around these guys? And are they going to continue to get better with these guys? Is the $1 million question. Anthony Edwards, I think he's going to be a star. I don't think that he's a good I don't think he's going to be a good player. I think he's going to be a star. He reminds me of a more athletic version of Mitch Richmond. That's who I see when I look at him. I think he's going to be an all-star for a number of years. The question is what are they going to do with him? I mean, Cat is only under contract for 2 more years. So I don't know what the window is with this Minnesota team and what their expectations are, because they can't be realistic if they think that, we're trying to win it. With the unit that you got and how you're going, that's not realistic to think that. So to get into the playoffs, I think that's more realistic right now, and then build from there. Mhm. They might be. I think he is too. Top 5 dunkers of all time. Sure. Let's see. Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Vince Carter, David Thompson, Zach LaVine. Was he better than Doc? Yeah, he might be. I think Zach LaVine might be better than Doc. Zach LaVine, maybe? Yeah. Yeah. Zach LaVine. James. I think James James may go ahead of Zach LaVine. Maybe. Hmm. Well, I got to see how Kyrie comes back into the. I would have to see how Kyrie comes back into that fold. I'm not saying that Kyrie's going to come back and he's going to answer all of their questions. We're talking about a team that's been playing for almost 2 months now, and we're going to throw Kyrie back in that lineup. And Kyrie hasn't played in 2 months, so how is that chemistry going to work? He hasn't been practicing with them. He hasn't been doing anything with them. So I can't just think that they're just going to put him back in the lineup and they're going to just start rolling. They're already in first place, but Kyrie's scoring, even if he were to get back in the lineup and be sharp, all Kyrie's scoring is going to do is mask the bigger problem that they have. Do you know that against the Detroit Pistons the other night when Kevin Durant went for 51, do you know, I'm not sure if you know this, but do you know that LaMarcus Aldridge, Nicholas Claxton, Blake Griffin, and James Johnson in the fourth quarter alone gave me a grand total of 2 points and 1 rebound and 1 block shot. All Kyrie Irving is doing is masking that. That's it. Because when you run into teams in the playoffs, they're going to expose that, especially smarter teams. They're going to expose that. And this was against the Detroit Pistons, by the way, the team that's at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. I like Miles Turner in Golden State. I do, to be honest with you. I definitely like Miles Turner in Golden State. I have Steph Curry. I got him in my top 15 all time. I do. Name 8 teams in the East who will make the playoffs. A lot of good teams going to miss out. So before the season started, I had my top 8 teams were Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Miami, Boston, Atlanta, New York, and I think I had Charlotte as the 8 teams. As of today, I think it's Brooklyn at the top, Chicago. No, I had Chicago at 8. I didn't have Charlotte at 8. I had Chicago at 8. So as of right now, it's Brooklyn at the top, Chicago, Milwaukee, Miami. Who's in 5th place? I think Charlotte is in 5th place in the East. I think Atlanta's going to make the playoffs. I think the Cavs are going to make the playoffs. I had the Cavs on the outside looking in at a play-in tournament. I had Toronto on the outside looking in. So that's 7. And one more team that I'm missing. Because I already said Charlotte. And Boston. Yeah, in Boston. I don't think the Knicks looking real whack right now. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. If the season ended today, the Knicks are out. So the Cavs are at 4. Okay. Yes, sir. That's the same statement, BGBs. That's the same statement with Steph Curry. A lot of guys, they develop into these great players. That's the idea. Just because you're a great player now, it doesn't necessarily mean you were that right in the beginning. I mean, Giannis, I think he was most improved in the 14-15 season. I think he won the most improved award in 14-15 season. He didn't make the All-NBA team until I think year 6. Year 5. Year 5 is when he made the All-NBA team. He didn't make first team until year 8. So I think it was year 7 when he made first team All-NBA. So this is a development. That's why I have such a difficult time when I hear you guys talking about these guys. They're an all-time great right now. These dudes just getting started. They are just getting started. So I do think I think James is going to pass Jabbar as an all-time great. Yes, I do. What was my immediate reaction to Kobe passing away? Walk us through your day, if you will. It was a Sunday. I had just came back in the house from exercising. I was checking my phone, and a buddy of mine who likes to joke a lot. His name is Kenny. We call him K-Ice. he shoots me a Bleacher Report, and he likes to joke a lot too. He's one of those guys. He likes to joke a lot, and he sends a lot of jokes. And he sent me this text via TMZ, quote, Kobe Bryant has died in helicopter crash. I got upset, and I text him back, and excuse my language, I was like, yo, that's not fucking funny. And I was upset. I was visibly upset. I was like, yo, that ain't fucking funny. What's wrong with you? Right? So he texted me back, yo, who's laughing? So I immediately grabbed the remote and I turned on the news, and this is going on. So my heart starts to race. Like, I'm thinking, wait a minute, what is happening right now? What is going on? I just seen this dude last night talking to James, who just passed him on an all-time scoring list. That's what you telling me? That he gone? He just did this last night because the Lakers were in Philadelphia and he had just passed James. James had just passed him the night before. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. Whoa, what? And I'm flipping through other news channels because I want to make sure that I'm not going crazy. And this is happening. And then they switch to a scene where they're at the actual scene. And I'm beside myself at that point. I can't even hold it together. And I got a buddy of mine. He calls me and I'm like, listen, I remember like it was an hour ago, him saying to me, yo, what's going on? I said, you got to do all the talking because I have no words. And I couldn't speak. I'm beside myself with grief. And I'm inconsolably crying. Like, what the hell is going on? What is this? And I was just in a funk the entire day. The entire day. I was just like, I didn't want to talk to nobody. I didn't want to see nobody. I didn't want to talk about basketball. It was real corny. It was. It was real corny. It was. Hmm. Justin, he ain't extremely whack. Like extremely whack would be like 17-6. That would be extremely whack. I mean, he is 24-11, but he's not doing what I expected him to do. We talking about a guy who, before the season started, I had Anthony Davis as a top 5 player. The Lakers had gotten bounced in round 1, and in addition to them getting bounced in round 1, Anthony Davis was hurt. So I'm thinking, yo, he's gonna have a whole off season to prepare. He's gonna come back super sharp. I'm gonna get that 17-18, that 19-20 Davis, and he's gonna be that top 5 player again. Only except I'm seeing a guy who's looking like he's uncomfortable being in that role. And that's what's bothered me. That's what's bothered me more than anything. So who had the best defensive season of all time? You could say Jordan in 87, 88, 200 blocks, 200 steals. Never in the history of the game did anybody ever do that. Led the league in steals that year. Let's see. Olajuwon in 94. But I thought Olajuwon actually had a better defensive season that year in 89. I think Mark Eaton won it, and I thought Olajuwon had a better defensive season that year. James in 13. That was one of the best defensive seasons ever. Let's see. That's a good one. I got to think about that. Yeah. Yeah. Daniel Sloan, what are you talking about with Alonzo being a top 5? Why is that important? Him being a top 5 outlet passer of all time. Really? All right, so let me talk to Daniel. Let me talk to Daniel Sloan because he wants to talk about Lonzo Ball being a top 5 outlet passer as a point guard. So this is the dude starting the break. He wasn't better than Wes Unseld. Wes Unseld got the ball off the backboard and we were going with it. He wasn't better than Jabbar. Jabbar got the ball off the backboard and we were going with it. Let's see. Other great outlet passes. He wasn't better than Malone. Malone got the ball off the backboard and we were going. Let's see. Outlet passers. A guy that can get the ball off the backboard and we going with it. And we running. So I'm thinking about running teams. He wasn't better than Unseld. He wasn't better than Jabbar. He wasn't better than Malone. I don't think he was better than Olajuwon either. But Houston wasn't a running team. No, I don't think Houston was a running team. So I wouldn't put him in that category. However, when I think about teams that ran and teams get up and down the floor, Shaq was really good at starting the break, but that Laker team wasn't a transition team. Amari Stoudemire was a great outlet passer. Dennis Rodman was a great outlet passer. Kevin Love was an incredible outlet passer, absolutely. In fact, he got that from Wes Unseld, who played with his father. That's where he learned it from. His father put him on to that. So, yeah, that's fair. Do you think that Lonzo Ball, let me ask you this question, because you saw Lonzo Ball throw the ball from one end of the floor to the other. You don't think any of those other guys can throw the ball from one end of the floor to the other? You think that's just the skill that Lonzo Ball possesses? You don't think any of those other guys can do that? Throw the ball from one end of the floor to the other? Because I've seen plenty of times Kevin Love hit LeBron James in stride, 94 feet. I've seen that. I've seen plenty of times Malone hit a guy in stride. No, don't be sorry. What you sorry for? I'm trying to understand what your logic is when you talk about being an outlet passer. That's the guy who starts the transition. So if I see this guy getting the ball off the backboard and I know he ain't looking for me, I'm running. That's the guy you talking about, right? That's the guy you talking about. So with that being said, I'm thinking about guys who get the ball, peel the ball off the glass, and we going. And when I think about Malone, when I think about Jabbar, when I think about Kevin Love, when I think about Rodman, I think about those guys who, when they get the ball off the backboard, we running. I can't say that those guys aren't better than Lonzo Ball because he doesn't do that all the time. That I don't know if that's I'm not going to say that's a fluke, but it's something that I don't see all the time from him. So when I think about a guy being that, something like outlet passes, Wes Unseld starting the break. Let's go. We running. That's a big deal. So for you to say, is Lonzo Ball the best outlet passer of all time? Wow. So now I gotta dig into my memory bank and think back. Is he? Is he the best guy to clean it off the backboard and let's run? Is he the best guy to do that? No, I don't think so, Daniel. No, I don't. I don't think that he's the best because I've seen James hit Anthony Davis in stride, and this is James late in his career. I've seen Russ do that. I've seen plenty of guys do that, and that's important. By the way, let's make sure that we don't discount that. That's very important to get easy buckets. So if I'm playing with a guy that I know is looking for me in transition, I'm running because we need all the easy buckets that we can get. So that's a weapon that if he possesses that, I'm running because I know he's gonna look for me. Absolutely, I am. I know he is. I do not have CP3 over Kid and Nash. I don't. I do not have I just don't. I do not have kid, even though I've heard from my counterpart, my co-host, OG the Beast, who has said to me countless times he thinks that Chris Paul is the best two-way point guard in NBA history. I'm thinking, wow. But, shot, James. But when I think about his game, I do have Chris Paul as a top. I got him right outside the top. I got him right outside the top 5 in point guards all the time. I think I got him at 7 behind Oscar Robertson, even though he's the only point guard in NBA history with 20,000 points and 10,000 assists. So that's what that's what I said about Gary Payton. He's the best defensive point guard that I've ever seen. And that's not to say that there aren't guys who are better. That's not to say that there aren't point guards who are better overall point guards. But when I think about a defensive point guard, he's the best defensive point guard that I've ever seen. The best. I would really like to see that, to be honest with you, Bubba Guts. I would really like to see that. That's something that I would like to see. I don't know if he's ever going to be that. What is he averaging? 12 a game this year? He averaged what? 11 last year or 12? So what's a career year for Lonzo? And Lonzo's 24. So we could very well get some better seasons. We going in, I think we're in year, he came in 17, right? Yeah, he came in 17. So 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21, so 21, 22. So this year right here will tell you this is who this guy is. I've always felt like that. When you're talking about a guy who is, in, by the time you get to year 5, this is who I expect you. This is who I expect to see. So with that being said, when I think about Lonzo, I think this is it in terms of what you should expect from him. Now, you're probably going to have some better seasons. You may get a 15 or a 16 a game season, maybe even a 17 a game season. I don't know. But what you can expect going forward on average, you can expect a 12 to 13 a game, 6, 7 assist guy. That's what you should expect from him. And he's going to play 12, 15 years. No doubt about that. Did he average 15 last year? I thought it was like 11. Okay, so he averaged 15 last year. All right. Mm-hmm. And he's averaging what, 12 this year? I think he's averaged 12 or 13 this year. So this is right around what you should expect from him, about 12, 13 a game, about 6 or 7 assists. No doubt. No, I don't. I think and I've said this in the past, I think that Jordan, one of the biggest things that he did to protect his legacy, that protected his legacy, was him retiring after the 1993 season. Because I don't think that they beat that Houston team. I don't. And I think that him not having to see Olajuwon, I don't think that bothered him one bit. I don't think that bothered him at all. All the players that he had to see, I don't think him having to go through Olajuwon bothered him. I don't think he's sitting around going, I would have liked to have seen Olajuwon. I don't think he wanted anything to do with Olajuwon. Nothing. I think so. I do think that. Kyle Lowry's starting, and Kyle Lowry is in year 16. I think that Lonzo Ball can be a starter in year 12. Between years 12, barring any health issues, absolutely, I think he can be. No doubt about it. I believe that. So the 3 years that he retired, would he retire? Yeah. So if he played, so you asking me, he doesn't retire and he plays those 3 years, would he be the all-time leading scorer? You can make that argument. Because we're talking about 4 years that he didn't play. That year and a half that he quit from 93 to March of 95. And then from 97, I'm sorry, from 98 to 2001. That's 3.5 years. Plus the year and a half. That's 5 years that he didn't play. Man. So you want to put 5, we want to put 5 years on the board of him scoring? Yeah. Man, so yeah. All right, guys. It's about that time for me. So it's about that time for me. So I'll be back on tomorrow night, though. Tomorrow's Thursday. I'll be back on tomorrow night, and we'll do it again. No doubt. We'll definitely do it again. So as always, it's good to see y'all. It's good to see you guys. And we have great conversation. Definitely feeling it. So we'll do it again tomorrow night if y'all down. So until then, take it light, but take it.